today we're bringing you something called the Black Legacy series, where we're going to explore the Black experience through past and to the future.
The Black Legacy series, exploring the Black experience. Listen, man, if you really want to understand where we're at today, we got to take it back.
What? Take it where?
Take it back.
Take it
way back. So let's give a little overview of what we're going to be talking about today.
Okay.
All right? We're going to cover 3 things. We want to land at the history of step, but we said we got to take it back. So this got to go first back to the rites of passage.
Okay, so taking the process of boys turning into men.
Correct.
Okay, right.
Correct. Next, we're going to look at now the Black Greek letter organizations.
Okay, so these are great men of valor who chose to unite. Okay.
Correct. Exactly, man. Let's go.
Yeah,
we're going to keep on going. Then we're going to make our way all the way to the stepping.
Okay, and you guys know about stepping, right? These are our African ancestral roots coming out through dance. Let's go.
It's lit. Man, so let's keep this thing going.
Let's go.
First thing we got today is rites of passage. Before I go any further, when you hear that phrase, rites of passage, what comes to mind? Just want to kind of know where you're at. Could you give us at least some examples?
When he said that, I know you guys thought of a couple at least, right? We actually all have gone through these so many times, like things like a baptism, maybe a wedding. You probably graduated from somewhere across some stage, some type of your life.
Okay.
These are the examples,
Got you. So it's this type of thing. It's what you kind of go through something.
Yeah. So
you have a ceremony. You accomplish something.
Definitely.
But we're saying we wanted to take it back, right? We wanted to give them that way back, right? So we're going to give it to him like that, man. Tell us a little bit, what happened in the African experience with the rites of passage?
What you have to recognize is when we're talking about the African rites of passage, this is something that has been going on for millennia and millennia. One of the first steps is the actual removing the child from society. What does that mean, Aaron? Well, you have to understand that, when you learn, you never learn in your comfort zone. You have to step out of your comfort zone to actually learn something. So we're actually going to take the individual out of the society, even out of the village, take them away from their family and their friends. The next step is when you're in this place, when you're in this place of learning, what the first thing you have to do is actually learn about your ancestors, learn about your history, right? I always say you got to know your history.
That's a fact.
Right? You got to know your lineage, right? Let's take me. I was born in Nairobi. I'm from Uganda. My grandfather was a chief. My father was a chief. That makes me a chief, right?
Let's go.
That makes me understand where I come from, where my blood, what runs through my veins. That tells me where I'm from. These are the things that matter. We need to teach our youth where they actually do come from. The next thing is actually going to be teaching them the rules of the society, right? You have to know how to walk and how to talk and how to act as the roles that you're going to be, what to do or not to do, right? The next thing is that, you're actually going to realize the roles that you obtain, right? So there's always going to be different types of people in society. They're going to be warriors. There's going to be a blacksmith. There's going to be the cattlemen, the people who are on the watch and who take care of the family. Everyone has a role, and at this time, you always wanted to know, what role you represented. You actually were taught these positions so that you knew what you were going to do when you actually were there. And finally, you actually go through a process of rebirth, right? You actually go through a literal ritual ceremony, Aaron, which is pretty cool. You actually get a new name, right? Some of these processes involve things like baptism, so you actually sort of feel like you're going through a process like that, or shaving of your head, sort of to represent the newness of coming into this world. Just like all of us, most of us maybe didn't come into the world with a full head of hair. I don't know, some of us did, right? But the most important part that I loved the most was the actual returning back to society, Aaron. This is a beautiful process because guess what? When you were taken out of society, Aaron, people were missing you. People didn't know where you were. But people knew that when you did come back, you were going to come back a new person. You were going to come back a new man. And that, in a sense, is the rites of passage.
Let's go, man. It's major. It's major. I hear what you're saying. So this rite of passage is a time when you get taken away from where you were.
Right.
You're going to go through some things.
Definitely.
Right?
Yeah.
Rituals, ceremonies, you're going to be learning. Right? You're going to be prepared to get sent back.
Right.
But then there's actually a whole celebration when you come back now to society. Everybody's looking for you. Where they been? What's been going on?
Definitely.
But you come back as a new man.
New man.
And this is a rite of passage. Let's
Definitely.
go.
Yeah, I love it.
Wow. Man, thanks for breaking that down for us about the rite of passage. Man, let's keep going. We're going to take a look at now the Black Greek letter organizations.
Right.
Knowing that these organizations were something that was created with the rites of passage involved to help bring, guys that were leaving high school, entering into now manhood, entering into college.
But let's set the stage, right? I mean, when was these things happening? What was going on in society? Like, what were the cost of things? Anything. Like, let's set the stage, Aaron. Set the stage.
Got you. Absolutely, man. Because we're going back now. I mean, we in 2020. We talking about the early 1900s. 1900?
Yeah.
Yo, 1900, man. How much you think it costs for a new car? Right? You sell cars. How much a car costs today?
I mean, today you're gonna cost about $24,000 to $30,000 investment, which is pretty big.
24, 30K.
Yeah.
Back 1900, you could get a brand new car, $250 to $650.
Wow.
Some of y'all got that in your bank account right now.
Wow.
Brand new car, right?
Wow, yeah.
What about even like, let's back it up a little bit, like a gallon of gas, right? How much a gallon of gas go for now?
I mean, right now I think it's probably $1.90 to maybe $2 the top end, maybe.
To cash top end?
Yeah.
70 cents. You get a gallon of gas for 70 cents. You fill your tank up under $10.
Whew, I wish I'd have that right there.
Light work, right?
Yeah.
But go a little further, man. What about, like, let's say some clothes or something like that? Like,
That's true.
okay, so you get a nice fitted, right?
Right,
How much
right.
a fitted cost?
I mean, what is it? Probably 28, 33, $30 maybe.
1900, you
What?
could get a hat for 50 cents.
Come on.
Come on, man.
Literally change.
A hat for 50 cents. Bro, and let's take it a little more to the, the grown and distinguished, right?
Okay, of course.
You get a nice suit, So I see you walking around looking fresh.
Okay.
You get a nice suit, how much that run you?
I think a good quality suit, top end, around $250, I think is a solid suit.
$250. I seen a couple of them at the mall looking
Yeah,
good.
right.
You could get a whole suit in 1900 for like $8, $10, $15 tops. See what I'm saying? A pair of shoes, right?
Right.
Pair of J's today costs what?
Well, I don't know, 170?
Easy. You get some of those releases, it's gonna be 200.
Yeah, don't
okay.
get Yeezys.
You
Come
could
on.
get a pair of shoes in 1900 for $2 to $3. This was a totally different time. But let's get out of the marketplace and into some of the history. So we're trying to take a look at what was going on during this time that caused these men to say, you know what? We need to do something for our brothers to be able to support each other. Have you heard of the Atlanta race riots? This took place in September, it started September 22nd, 1906. It lasted 2 days. 10 black men were killed. 2 white men died. This was all at the heels of the Brownsville affray that had taken place just months earlier in Brownsville, Texas. An altercation between some African American soldiers and some of the local men there that resulted in one of the local residents being killed. There was a lot going on. Civil unrest, upheaval, racial tensions that led these men to say, you know what, we need to do something to support black men.
Wow, that's a lot of stuff going on during that time, But what's interesting is what we need to really recognize is that it really set the tone for reasons why black people really needed to organize, come together, putting minds together, putting brothers together to unite, to work towards common goals. This is where Black Greek letter organizations, their need arises. Organizations like the NAACP.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And those things, man, it was 1906. Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated was founded.
Right.
In 1911, you had Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated as well as Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. The next one, I'll let you share that.
I mean, of course, you got to do 1914. The Brothers of Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated were founded.
These were the pieces where, out of these organizations, the members, the leadership, then went on and said, we need to do more than just the people in these colleges and universities. We need to reach the cities as a whole. And NAACP, as you mentioned.
Right.
But I think the most important thing when we think about these organizations is what were they founded on?
Right.
The 3 main pillars. And what were they?
Was brotherhood, scholarship, and service.
That's it, man. Brotherhood, scholarship, and service. And this was something that had to be earned, not given. to be a part of this dignified, distinct group of individuals. And so there was a rite of passage that had to occur. You would be initiated, amen, and you would be taught the trades so that you could embody the scholarship, brotherhood, and service.
And Aaron, what I want to add is that these were truly men that were distinguished and set themselves apart. People took pride in these positions. I mean, maybe not today, maybe you don't see it as much, but these were men, the greatest men in our history were a part of these organizations, right? And you know what? I think that you guys might know a few of them.
Man, so, we talked about rites of passage. We talked about Black Greek letter organizations, and one of the things that ties them together is the fact that you're passing on information, right? From one generation to the next, from one group to the next, passing these things on.
I think what's amazing about African rites of passage, guys, is that, we were passing on ceremonial rites of passage. You want to learn about things about being a man, how to be a man. When you certain tribes, you do certain types of dances. These are things that are passed on. And what I love about is stepping. Stepping is another thing that we take pride in, and it's part of our blood, and it's a process. I remember when my big brothers were saying, now David, we're gonna pass this torch to you, because I was a step master, and they were like, you know what, you have the control, and you have to teach the next generation how to do what we do best, and there's something powerful about that. Aaron.
Absolutely,
yeah.
Absolutely, man. You're talking about passing it on from one to the next. Now, you specifically were talking about like ceremonial dancing, and like I know, like we talked about weddings, so like, okay, I get it, like father-daughter dance. But what do you mean when you say ceremonial dancing?
Different parts of Africa, there's probably over 3,000 ethnic groups that occupy Africa today. Each one having their unique different styles of dancing. Like they say in East Africa, there's today you may see things that are similar. These are actually where they come from. There's a ceremonial dance that will be like this, like or literally breaking it down. Everyone has seen it, These are things that you're putting these things together. You probably see these in modern dances today, actually, Yeah.
Yo, let's go, man. Taking us back to learn that, wow, some of the things I see today, actually were evolved from things that went back before, right?
Definitely, yeah.
So talk to us a little bit about, we talked about the ceremonial dancing.
Right.
But when I see people stepping, like they're doing the slapping, so where did all that come from, the slapping and the stomping?
You know what, Aaron, I think you have to recognize that in Africa, being African in itself, there's something about the drum. There's something about the beat. It's something that's in our blood, as we say. It runs through our veins. And any type of syncopation of beats is something that we do put together in dancing ceremonially, no matter what. Talk about the different tribes and ethnic groups, thousands of them that occupy Africa. Each one of these groups had their own type of style and dance. Literally, there's especially groups in southern types of Africa. You guys might know, have ever heard of a group called the Zulu tribe. These in particular really have put in stomping and stepping as part of their ceremonial dances. Okay. And this syncopated stomping is where our stepping actually emulated from.
So when you're saying syncopated stepping, stomping, like, what do you mean by that? Can you maybe give an example? What does that mean? What does it look like?
Yeah, of course. So, syncopated stepping, obviously everyone steps and moves every day, but it's about putting it together in a rhythmic pattern that we can actually recognize that there's actual syncopation and a pattern to it.
Okay.
So let's take, when we talk about stepping, we usually start with you create a beat with your mouth. So maybe something like pa-pa, 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 and the same thing, it's just go pa-pa, 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 pa-pa. Right?
That
exactly. Easy, man.
No, that's tough.
Right.
Let's go.
And I think what it's about it is just as you just seen us, right? As he didn't even know I was going to do that beat. But what's amazing is that it's our ability to capture the beat, internalize it, and we put it together. And what we want to do is create, one beat and one sound. And that's the whole goal of stepping, is to put a group of people together, all of us creating the one sound of stepping. You know,
so you're saying bringing the whole group together.
Right.
It's many parts,
Right.
but one sound.
One sound.
Right?
Right.
Many bodies, but almost could look like one movement.
One movement.
Now, so I get it. So, we're talking about syncopated, we're talking about bringing the groups together.
Right.
But what does this look like now for it to continue to evolve? Where did this come? How did it get to America?
Right. So, I think, when you talk about that time in history, the service, military, has really what brought brothers all over the world, right? And brothers had a chance to go to different parts of Africa and were witness to some of these amazing traditions and syncopated dances and tribal dances. And when you go to South Africa in particular, there's known for their diamonds and mining, right? So, because of this mining, it's probably the main source of income down there in South Africa. So it brings different groups of ethnic groups together. And because they all work together, when you're working with people, you tend to just, you want to come up with maybe song or dance to sort of make the work go along.
Make it go by, right? Pass the time.
I mean, a good American version would be when you talk about, some of those like slave songs, these are what they did together. Slaves were brought from different parts of the country, but when they got together, they sang songs to make the work go smoother or easier, right? This is the same thing they were doing there in Africa, but maybe you were working in a mine. And so each mine group were coming up with their own different ways of doing this stepping. Gotcha. And these were called the African Bootsteppers. Gotcha. And literally each regiment, each group would have their own, and they would actually come up with competitions. And somehow one of the servicemen saw this and brought this back to America. And like everything else, like America does, as we know, we take something and we really make it our own, right? And what Americans did was take that and incorporated our enthusiasm, our ingenuity, innovation, and brought this ethnic dance from Africa, brought it here and create what we now know as stepping in America today.
Let's go.
Right.
And I love hearing that, man, kind of the history of it. It gives me a different understanding. Helps me appreciate it in a different way. And I love what you started to say about competition.
Right.
Because I know that competition breeds innovation.
Definitely.
Right? I see my boys, they over there doing well with it. Dang, how'd you learn that? But I got to do it better. Yeah. Right? I see them taking it up a notch. I got to take it a little higher.
You know
right?
what? Oh, wait, Aaron. I think you're talking a little bit too much. And I think that instead of acting like I'm the only one who knows something, you know what? I actually brought a little something. Maybe you could show us a little something. Hold on 1 second.
Hold up. What you got, bro?
What about this?
Ooh. Hit him with a little bit of that cane word?
Hey.
They not ready for this, bro.
Chill.
You know what I'm saying? Hey, let's go. Something like for us to, but even something like this. How do we start getting canes and staffs included in the activities?
Well, it's a quite interesting about the history of the staff. See, in the service during that time, black men in service were not being recognized and weren't even allowed to become officers. When these men went to Africa, they recognized that great men, big men, umze as we say in Africa, were distinguished by staffs that they carried. And what's amazing is that these servicemen saw this and brought a simple thing like a staff became a way to delineate yourself and to create a stature and give you a hierarchy. So maybe you were a sergeant or maybe you were higher. When you walked around with your staff, people recognized your rank. And so this was brought back to here to America. These are servicemen who wanted to show that they had a little bit of a higher rank than just a normal infantryman. And that's actually the history of where staffs, and that incorporated into stepping, exactly what you did is how the staff is brought into stepping today, which I love.
Let's go.
Nice.
Wow, man. Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming out and sharing a little bit about what's going on. Learning some of the history of the rites of passage and what that looks like to transition from that boyhood or that childhood into manhood.
I think it's an amazing process that I think that every one of us and you out there are actually going through your form of rites of passage. And what's amazing is to understand the history of that.
Absolutely. We can see kind of where these things came from and where they're going, where we are today.
Definitely.
We looked a little bit at the Black Greek letter organizations understanding what was going on in America during that time and why there was such a need for black men to be supporting one another.
And I think what we want to recognize is that by incorporating this into colleges, into the education system, it recognizes that that was a platform and that was an area that we needed help in. And what you want to recognize is that this is a place where you have a chance to set your mark in the education and in the academic realm.
Absolutely. Absolutely, man. And it moves so nicely right into the stepping. Because I feel like that's one of the things you see. Like, we see the step shows, but we might not necessarily know what went on behind the scenes to get there. You know, but understanding that it's a part of this syncopated dance that goes way, way back to our ancestral roots, right? And then allows us something that we can pass on to others and that we can share together, many parts, one sound.
Definitely. And what I love about being part of the Good Brothers is that, you know, both of our histories, both of our backgrounds, you know, we want to incorporate this into the Good Brother experiences as well. And so we will be coming up with a Good Brother step team. So make sure you look out. Any of you out there who want to get into a step team, who want to learn, who want to get some knowledge passed down, we will be coming out with a step team as well.